Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining us on Velayat News. I'm Abroo Sabzwari, and now to the top headlines for today. Ecuadorian president says Edward Snowden is stuck in Moscow. A blast in the Pakistani city of Quetta has killed at least 28. A bomb in Iraq has killed 12 soccer players and fans. Egypt has locked in standoff after millions rally against Mohammed Morsi. Syria militants down a helicopter near Aleppo. Bahraini forces have attacked holy mausoleum of the prominent Shia philosopher Sheikh Maitham al-Bahraini. And the Muslim communities across the greater San Francisco Bay Area came together to celebrate their annual picnic. And now, the news in detail. Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa says U.S. surveillance whistleblower Edward Snowden is stuck in a Moscow airport and cannot leave the country since he does not have a passport. Correa made the remarks during an interview with the Associated Press on Sunday in Puerto Viejo, the Pacific Coast city of Ecuador, diminishing possibility that the man who fled the United States this month before leaking documents on secret U.S. spy programs will arrive in Ecuador soon. Last week, the Presidential Council for Human Rights of Russia expressed its support of Snowden, saying the 29-year-old former U.S. intelligence contractor deserved to receive political asylum in the country of his choice and should not be extradited to the U.S. Washington has called on Ecuador, Cuba, Venezuela, and Russia not to provide political asylum to Snowden. On June 6th, Britain's The Guardian newspaper revealed that a top-secret U.S. court order allows America's top spy agency, the NSA, to collect data on the millions of Americans who are customers of major U.S. phone company Verizon. On the same day, the Washington Post also reported that the NSA had direct access to internet servers, saying their source, a career intelligence officer, was horrified of the capabilities of the systems used by the U.S. spy agency. The NSA scandal found even broader dimensions when Snowden revealed more information about the American agency's espionage against other countries. On June 12th, U.S. House Representative Loretta Sanchez said the revelations of Snowden about the spying operations of the NSA are only the tip of the iceberg. At least 28 people were killed and dozens others wounded in the southwestern Pakistani city of Quetta on Sunday when a suicide bomber attacked a largely Shia Muslim neighborhood. The blast appeared to be the latest in an escalating campaign of gun and bomb attacks by militants on ethnic Hazaras in Quetta because they belong to Pakistan's Shia minority. Mir Zubair, Quetta's police chief, said a suicide bomber riding a bicycle had detonated his explosives when he was stopped at a barrier in the Hazara town district, a Hazara enclave on the western edge of the city. The dead included 9 women, a girl, and a 14-year-old boy. Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, a militant group which has carried out many gun and bomb attacks on Hazaras in Quetta, said it was behind the bombing. A spokesman for the group called the Express News television channel to make the claim. The group is aligned with the Takfiri Deobandi school of Islam, which sees Shias as infidels. Lashkar has intensified its campaign in Quetta this year. Earlier this month, it claimed responsibility for an attack in which a suicide bomber attacked a bus carrying women students in Quetta, and then gunmen stormed a hospital treating survivors. More than 20 people were killed from various ethnic groups. Lashkar said it had carried out the hospital assault in retaliation for a police raid on the outskirts of the city in which several militants had been killed. The bus and hospital attack was the biggest since bombings in the city at the start of the year killed almost 200 people in Hazara neighborhoods. In a separate blast earlier on Sunday, 14 people were killed in the northwestern city of Peshawar when a roadside bomb attack narrowly missed a passing convoy of security forces but ravaged a busy market area. 2 paramilitary personnel riding with the convoy were wounded, but the brunt of the blast was borne by passers-by in the tense Budbur neighborhood of Peshawar, a frequent scene of attacks on the police and army by Pakistan's Taliban militants. A spate of attacks in Pakistan in recent weeks has underlined the challenge militancy poses to the new government of Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, who won a landslide victory in the May 11th general elections. Before the election, Sharif said he would be willing to negotiate an end to years of fighting with the Taliban in Pakistan's rugged tribal areas on the border with Afghanistan. But the group withdrew an offer of talks after a May 28th U.S. drone strike killed Deputy Leader Velayat. The group has since vowed to teach a lesson to Pakistan and the United States for the killing. It believes the Pakistani government cooperates with Washington on drone attacks known as the Tehreek-e-Taliban. The Pakistani Taliban have carried out many attacks against the Pakistani military and civilians. A bomb planted near a yard where people were playing soccer in Iraq killed 12 people on Sunday and injured more than 20 others. Around 24 people were wounded in the blast in the town of Nahrawan, south of the capital Baghdad. The violence is part of a trend of increasing militant attacks since the start of the year, which claimed more than 1,000 lives in May alone, making it the deadliest month since the sectarian bloodshed of 2006-07. In recent days, men playing local soccer fixtures and watching matches have been the targets after spates of attacks on Sunni and Shia mosques, markets, and the security forces. The reason for targeting soccer players is not clear. On Saturday, bombs targeting soccer players and young men who had gathered to watch a match in Iraq killed 7 people. Concerns that Iraq may lapse back into full-scale sectarian conflict have mounted in recent months amid tensions fueled by the civil war in neighboring Syria, where mainly Sunni rebels are fighting to overthrow a leader backed by Shia Iran. Sunni insurgents have been regaining ground, recruiting from the country's Sunni minority, which resents Shia domination since the U.S.-led invasion that toppled Saddam Hussein in 2003. Egypt was locked in a tense standoff after millions of protesters swarmed into the streets to demand the resignation of Islamist President Mohammed Morsi, and militants set the ruling Muslim Brotherhood's headquarters on fire. Young revolutionaries united with liberal and leftist opposition parties in a massive show of defiance on the first anniversary of Morsi's inauguration on Sunday, chanting, "The people demand the fall of the regime." The demonstrations, which brought 500,000 people to Cairo's central Tahrir Square and a similar crowd in the second city, Alexandria, were easily the largest since the Arab Spring uprising that ousted Hosni Mubarak in 2011. Mohammed Morsi, the most populous Arab state's first freely elected leader, stayed out of sight, but acknowledged through a spokesman that he had made mistakes, while adding that he was working to fix them and was open to dialogue. He showed no sign of quitting. The mass protests showed that the ruling Muslim Brotherhood has not only alienated liberals and secularists by seeking to entrench Islamic rule, but has also angered millions of ordinary Egyptians with economic mismanagement. Tourism and investment have dried up, inflation is rampant, and fuel supplies are running short, with power cuts lengthening in the summer heat. Dozens of militants attacked the Brotherhood's national headquarters in Cairo with shotguns, petrol bombs, and rocks, setting it on fire and targeting offices of its political party across the country. There was no sign of police or fire service protection from the Brotherhood's head office, where witnesses said guards inside the building fired on the attackers. 2 people died and 11 were injured in that clash. Protest organizers called on Egyptians to keep occupying central squares across the country in a campaign of peaceful civil disobedience until Morsi quits. Tens of thousands of demonstrators stayed in Tahrir Square long after midnight, appearing to heed the call for a sit-in. Foreign-backed militants in Syria have downed a Syrian government helicopter near the northern city of Aleppo. The civilian helicopter was carrying exam papers for school children, and all 7 people on board, including the deputy head of the education ministry, were killed. In a video released by the militants recently, advanced anti-aircraft missiles have been used to bring the helicopter down. Syrian militants have recently used advanced weaponry supplied to them by the Western and several regional governments in a bid to help them regain their lost ground and forestall the advances of the Syrian army. The unrest in Syria erupted over 2 years ago, and many people, including large numbers of Syrian soldiers and security personnel, have been killed in the violence. The Syrian government says the chaos is being orchestrated from outside the country. Last month, President Bashar al-Assad said militants from as many as 29 different countries are operating inside Syria. A June 26th report by the Wall Street Journal said that the U.S. CIA has begun transferring weapons to Jordan in order to arm the Syrian militants. Saudi Arabia's Foreign Minister Saud al-Faisal said on June 25th that Riyadh believes the al-Qaeda-linked groups in Syria should be armed, but weapons shipments to the Syrian government should be stopped. Moreover, European Union foreign ministers meeting in Brussels in May reached an agreement to lift the arms embargo on the militants in Syria. The Sheikh Maytham al-Bahraini Mosque and Mausoleum on the southern outskirts of Bahrain has come under attack by Bahrain regime forces, according to local sources. Sheikh Maytham al-Bahraini said on Sunday that unknown assailants attacked the mosque and looted some equipment there after causing damage to the site of worship. Activists have repeatedly blamed the Bahraini regime for such attacks. Since mid-February 2011, when anti-government protests erupted in Bahrain, Saudi-backed regime forces demolished over 24 mosques in their crackdown on Bahrainis. According to local sources, more than 110 people have been killed and thousands arrested so far during the regime clampdown on peaceful demonstrations. Manama forces have also destroyed 18 mourning halls since the start of the revolution. And now to our local community. While some extremist elements in other parts of the Muslim world are creating Shia-Sunni sectarian strife and discord, here in the United States, the Shia and Sunni community of the greater San Francisco Bay Area of California harmoniously came together in their annual community picnic. The annual event brought together diverse ethnic groups of the Urdu-speaking communities from the subcontinent, the Arab communities, African Americans, the Persian-speaking communities including Afghan and Iranis, members of the Bosnian community, and local ethnic backgrounds. Mosques and Islamic centers across the Bay Area joined in together on the fun activities, delicious foods, barbecue, games, and inter-masjid tournaments. The picnic included Quran recitation by 3 times international Quran recitation winner Maulana Abroo Sabzwari of the Fatimiyya Center in Hayward, California. Inter-community events like this picnic are especially needed in this crucial time. Today there exists a minority extremist group funded by certain Gulf countries, creating division and strong sectarian rifts, misrepresenting the true face of Islam through their brutalities in order to justify their illegitimate rules and policies against the will of the people. Yesterday's picnic was a proof and evidence that the Shia-Sunni communities have been living together harmoniously in the past and can still live together in unity in the future. Besides the minor differences in certain religious practices, Shias and Sunnis are 2 major pillars of the Muslim Ummah. Several hundred people participated, including parents, grandparents, and children of all ages. Also attending the picnic were Maulana Dr. Nabi Raza Abadi of the Shia Association of Bay Area, Maulana Abroo Sabzwari of Fatimiyya Center, and several other scholars and imams from different centers, including the Muslim Community Association, the South Bay Islamic Association, and the Islamic Community of Bay Area Bosnians, among many others. Everyone came together in this joyous family event before the coming of the blessed and holy month of Ramadan. And that brings us to the end of our bulletin today. If you'd like to contribute your community's news, you can email us at news@VelayatTV.org. You can also get the latest headlines and more by logging on to our website, VelayatTV.org, or subscribe to and follow us on our YouTube and Facebook pages, Velayat TV USA. Many thanks for joining us. Till next time, I'm Abroo Sabzwari. Fi amanillah.